listening to Hungry for More, an Epicurean's Dilemma, and I'm your host, Trish Glose. She grills, she smokes, and she's sharing all of it with us. Misty Banchero on the podcast today. She's known on social media as Seattle Butcher's wife, married a fourth-generation butcher. Mondo & Sons is the name of the business, family owned and operated since 1932 in the Seattle, Washington area. Misty says she wasn't always in front of the grill. She had a career in retail management, a career she absolutely loved. It was mid-pandemic, though. She found out her position was being eliminated. She took this new transition really by the horns, created her own path from all of this, and she started to grill and smoke meats on social media. She did have a connection, of course, with some pretty sweet cuts. And she says the love just started to pour in, and that's when she got hooked. She's also a little competitive, which may have had something to do with it. We talk turkey, what she's doing for Thanksgiving this year. She gives us some tips and tricks along the way. And she says if you're hesitating about firing up the grill, her advice, just do it. Here's Misty Banchero. I have so many questions for you. So many.
All right. Good.
Misty Banchero, Seattle Butcher's wife on Instagram. You have, I think at last check, what was it, like more than 11,000 followers on Instagram?
11,000 was TikTok. It was 69,800, I think, is where I'm at with Instagram.
Well, Missy, thank you so much for being here. I reached out to you because I just recently had Meathead Goldwyn on my podcast, and I said, I really want to hear from a female griller and a smoker. So I reached out to you, and here we are. You are married to a fourth generation butcher. Lots of questions there. And you grill and smoke lots of things on your social media platforms that are absolutely drool worthy. I mean, drool worthy. They look so amazing. Yes, they look so amazing. So we're going to talk all about how you really started this, because you didn't really have this burning passion to get in front of the grill, but it came eventually. So Misty, let's start from kind of the beginning. Where are you from originally?
I'm from a city that's not too far away from Seattle, Bremerton. It's right across the water. So if you've ever seen pictures of Seattle and seen the little ferry boat that goes across, I live on the other side. And I was there, my entire life until I met my husband. Then I moved over this way.
It's his fault.
All his fault. But I'm okay with that.
Your husband is a butcher.
Right.
You guys have Mondo & Sons?
Yep.
Okay. And that's right outside Seattle.
Right. Just a little bit south. It's a meat processing facility.
Okay.
So on a daily basis, he's not necessarily butchering, but him and his brother own the company. And my son is down there now too. And my daughter works there. So we're keeping in the meat business. Well,
it's definitely fourth generation, family owned and operated. I wrote down since 1932.
Yeah. So their family is from Genoa in Italy, and they, made it here, and that was what happened. The family started a meat company, and my husband can probably tell you all the details with a better timeline than I can. But, his dad at one point was pretty young when his father had passed on. So his dad stepped up and started another branch of the meat company. There was E&E Meats and Mondo & Sons, Mondo's Meats. There's different, names that they called it. Mondo is my husband's grandpa. And so they started literally like 2 blocks away from our home. And the building there, we now rent out to another barbecue friend who does the barbecue business. But since they've grown out, about maybe 7 years ago, they bought out another Italian meat company, and they moved south for bigger space. So now they do processing. They do, custom sausages for healthy food markets, PCC, Metropolitan Market, New Seasons Market, the ones that sell all the ones without nitrites and chemicals.
Right.
So they do kind of a high-end thing there. They also supply restaurants. They supply large companies like Google or Microsoft for their teams that need meat.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I love New Seasons Market, by the way. But butchering and this idea of, luckily I feel like we're getting back into it. The trend is swinging towards sustainable protein, right? And sourcing as local as you can. And if you can't source local, they are sourcing from good, high quality ranchers. But it does seem like at least a few years ago, we have some butchers here in our neck of the woods. And I just remember them saying it's kind of a trade that was dying off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to get into the trade. And especially since I've been in the barbecue community, I've had a lot of people ask how to get their foot in the door. And from the old school, it was a time where you would just mentor
Mm-hmm.
with someone who was skilled and you'd learn that way. There's not always a highly accredited programs to become a butcher.
Right.
And at the end of the day, depending upon what butchery, position you take, some of it's very, very hard work and some of it's, you get to express your creativity a little more. So it just depends on where you want to land.
I also feel like it's important work, right? Because when we're talking about, I mean, obviously I'm talking to you, you're a foodie. I just feel like, especially when it comes to butchering animals, there's a lot of waste in a lot of what we do. And
Yeah,
with this trade, you can control that waste,
that's
right?
right.
So where things aren't, you're using really all of
Oh
this
yeah.
animal that you're butchering.
Everything. And you're so right about that because I know, sometimes in commodity plants, they can't take the time to do some of the things that you might be able to do if you are a sole butcher, right? So, and, it's tough and it's so exciting to see what you can do with all parts and to really respect the animal as a whole.
I was just going to say, respecting the animal, that just gave me goosebumps because I am a meat eater, absolutely 100%. But I also am not blind or ignorant, to where I know where it comes from, right? I know that you
Yeah,
have to kill the animal in order for this
yeah,
beautiful steak or whatever to be put on my plate. So with that though, I want to make sure that where I at least find my meat, get my meat, I want to make sure it's coming from a reputable butcher, the animal's
right.
coming from a good rancher, etc.
Yeah, it's great to know where it starts. And I've had the opportunity the last couple of years to partner up with the Washington Beef Commission. So I got to go on a couple of tours where we got to actually visit sites, in Washington where we got to meet local ranchers that are providing, beef. And I learned a lot about just being able to connect with the animals, treat them with respect, and where it starts is really there, before it even gets to the butcher,
Mm-hmm.
and managing the calves. And it's just an amazing, I've met some people that have like a really deep passion for what they do. And those are the kinds of people that really make it, feel good to shop for, specialty meats.
100%. I love that. Well, we got off on a tangent, talking about butchering. Do you feel though it's something that's starting to come back? I mean, it sounds like you said a lot of people are interested in the trade.
Absolutely. And especially in certain markets where eating healthy and eating natural is really
Mhm.
becoming the mainstay. I would definitely to Seattle and, Portland and some of the surrounding areas that they're really making an effort in so many ways, even restaurants, finding ways to reduce waste and source, um, quality products for their customers and giving a great experience overall. Probably the only thing that is uncertain or, I don't know how quickly the movement will take place is just for the overall cost of goods right now. I can't go to the grocery store without, freaking out every time I fill up my cart where I
I
didn't
know.
used to feel that way. And so the average person may or may not be able to do what they want to do.
Hmm.
So that's why I think why if I'm going to show and tell my meats, of course I'm going to show these fancy ones, but I also would like to show some basic meat choices that some other people may feel like it's more realistic to access. So the movement is good. I don't know how quickly it's going to happen right now, but
Yeah.
I'm always hoping for the best.
Me too. Always. Yeah, it's funny when you go to the grocery store and you're checking out and you're like, "Wait,
Like,
I'm sorry. I think you rang up something wrong. I
yeah,
have I have
like
like
I only
10
got three
things."
bags. Yeah, what's happening? I'm not at Costco loading it up. That's a Costco or Target run, but how could it be my local store? I know it's the
Right.
same for me.
So, you're a Pacific Northwest girl.
Yeah,
Okay. Grew up in the Seattle area, sounds like. Okay.
yeah.
Was food important growing up in your family?
That's a good question. It was always important from my mom. She grew up on a farm,
Oh.
and so I still do have an awesome mom. And but she always made sure that we were fed. Period. Was it important to make the plate look pretty? No. Was it important to get the highest quality steaks onto the table? No, 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 no. So let's see. I was born in '72, so I'm thinking like microwaved meals and
Hmm.
TV dinners. I mean, those are kind of fun things. But my mom tried to do a lot of home cooked items, very simple, very basic. Now she says I use too much salt, but I think it's just because she never did all of her life. But she loves everything I make now, and she's really proud of me. But it's funny when I think about food. For me, I was just lucky that I was always fed. So like my mom
Hmm.
liked to do a full on breakfast before we left most days. So some French toast or pancakes was my regular going out the door to school.
I love your
A lot
mom.
of kids didn't have that. They had cereal.
Yeah.
So I still had cereal, but like I also had, good breakfast. She's like, a hearty breakfast will help you out. I played softball, so before my tournaments, she'd be like, load me up with the good syrup and carbs.
Good mama. That's a
Good mama.
that's a good mama. Um
Yeah.
yeah, same. I mean, my mom, we didn't have super fancy dinners. I don't think ever until we started to really get into cooking and food, but I was always fed. There was always dinner
Yeah.
and it was around the same time and it was always
Yeah.
really good food.
Yeah. Same. Like, some meatloaf or,
Mm,
pot roast or some steaks and potatoes. There were always little sides, even if they were microwave sides. Like
yeah.
that was cute.
Yeah. My brother and I, our favorite was uh she would fry chicken strips and then make homemade french fries. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
As a teenager, it was
Awesome. The
incredible.
best.
Incredible. You had a career in retail management. I believe that's what I read.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I've worked for many brands. Let's see, I really started probably in my Victoria's Secret time. I was there for a while and just loved it. And when I got an opportunity to move over to, that was part of my motivation to move and get together with my husband, was because I had to open up a new store over here in Seattle from across the water. And so I got promoted upon promoted. I was a district manager for many brands for many years and had a great time doing it. It was a great time, but it was probably a year and a half ago now that my most recent position with Bare Minerals was eliminated. And I took the opportunity to kind of just feel out what I wanted to do next. And
ooh.
so now supporting the family business and obviously doing some content creation has been what I'm working on now. And it's been fun.
So, you got promoted on promoted. Why do you think you were promoted so much? I mean, obviously you loved it and I read that it was
Yeah.
really you love that team aspect, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it. I like building a team. That's probably part of when I think about relating my natural skill set to what I'm doing now is, building the team, building the community. It's strange how that can happen in barbecue on social media, but it is. There's a ton of people I've met in this last year in real life now that COVID's done. I mean, somewhat done. But now I'm able to get out and meet them in person, and the community of helping each other in DMs now is more or less like learning from them next to them over live fire. It's been amazing. So part of it's community. I think part of also the relation is, um, being able to see and look for opportunities for improvement. When you're a district manager and you're doing a store visit and you're looking at even the lighting, the placement of the product, the right belt on that bus form or mannequin.
Yeah.
Like, those are details. And so when you say, oh, some of your pictures are drool worthy, I think I sort of look at that too. And I want it to be great because it tasted great. So I want to share that message. And I only know one way to do that. It's to do it, through the customer's eyes.
Your position you said was eliminated. Was this during COVID?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
they just eliminated all those positions. It was district manager. They shifted everything around.
Did you know it was coming?
So I didn't know for sure, but I felt like there's always a possibility. These are boutique stores, and that product is sold, in other, large vendors. So I wasn't sure what the future might look like. But I was sad to miss my team, but also like, this is strange. Just to open up new doors and let's see what happens.
I
And
was
it's
going
been
to ask.
pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you embraced it with like a okay transition time or if it was like I'm going to eat ice cream on the couch for 2 weeks and be sad.
No, I did. That's funny. No, I have, let's see, earlier in my career, I worked for Liz Claiborne Brands and my position was eliminated. And that was the first time that ever happened to me. It was one of the most fun jobs that I'd had. And I was devastated. And just like you said, I didn't expect it, even though the company was struggling. I was number one in the company. Like, how could I go, And I remember eating ice cream on the couch going, this is bananas. Like, I don't understand why. And then, like, the next week, the vice president was gone and everything shuffled around, and I got it. But it was still hard to swallow if you really like what you're doing. And maybe that experience, folded into this one where I didn't necessarily see the writing on the wall. I wasn't sure. It was uncertainty for everyone across the US. I mean,
Sure.
there's a ton of people losing their jobs, but they had taken care of us up until that point. So I didn't sit on the couch. I didn't eat any ice cream. I was like, whoa, this is so weird. I have the whole day now. Everything I wanted to accomplish, but could only do, evenings and weekends, I can do today. So I think I took it in a whole different light.
That's awesome. I interviewed a psychologist, former psychologist. Oh gosh, it was a while ago, right when we were in the pandemic. And he said, usually in a time of crisis, there's four different kinds of people: bystander, a critic, the victim, and the navigator.
Yeah,
Right. And so you can
I'm a
be
navigator.
same,
Yeah,
same. Well, you
I
have
am
to
one.
be. And in
Yeah.
time of crisis, you have to be a
Yep.
navigator. He said, while you can take on those other roles occasionally, the victim, the
Yeah,
critic, the bystander, you just can't stay there.
that's right.
You have to navigate. And so it sounds like you took this elimination of your position and you navigated through that
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so actually let's go back because I just realized,
Okay.
how did you meet your husband? Because I feel like he's really, you know, he brought meat into your life while it was always there. He really did bring it. So how'd you guys meet?
He's gonna love to hear you saying that. That brought me to your life. He's gonna be like, "Can you make a T-shirt out of that?" No. We joke and say I met him at the meat market. Yeah, we met each other at the meat market, and that's actually the truth.
Yeah.
I have a friend who knew him from I don't know how many years ago, and her and I were both working at Victoria's Secret at the same time. And we also did a little side hustle where we sold like nail polish products
Yeah.
at these trade shows. And we loved it because, this company would pay for us to go to hotels. We went to Vegas and Chicago and Florida. And we go to these little trade things and, do our little polish and then have fun and party all night and whatever.
Love it.
And so we had leftover product and we had to sell it in Seattle. It was really close to where his meat shop was. And she's like, "You got to meet this guy. Remember I used to talk about Angelo?" I'm like, "No, okay, whatever." And then she went by. He didn't know we were coming. It was like really embarrassing. We're like, I'm going, "Hi, nice." And he had his white meat coat on. And I'm like, "What are we doing here? Are we going to go out tonight or what?" So he'll tell you a longer story someday about how we, went on a date and moved from there. But that's how we met. And he took me out for my birthday and that same year, and we just hit it off right away. He's funny. He's hilarious. He's smart. A lot of the things that he is really opposite of me. He's really highly analytical, takes forever to make decisions, but solid as a rock and knows his meat. And you know what? I was bound and determined to stay away from the meat stuff because I had my own thing and I, always wanted to keep it separate. You got your path, I have mine.
Sure.
We'd always talk about it, for pillow talk. But it's crazy how he has now brought the meat to me.
He's brought the meat. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would buy a t-shirt. I'm just saying. Um was he, when you guys started dating, when you got married, who
Yeah,
was the cook in the family?
definitely him.
Okay.
He, is proud of his, even though his mother's French Canadian, very proud of his Italian heritage. And he has always been a master of science and the chemistry. He's the person that's creating all of these recipes for someone like New Seasons. They have private label. Everything that's their sausage is created by us. So he's the one that is the master behind these recipes. He knows how things work together. And I remember bragging to my friends about, I can't wait to see what he made for dinner tonight. you know, and working in retail, I'm like, "Oh, you guys won't believe it." I'd brag or bring some leftovers and they're like, "You got it good." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "I know. You think I should marry him? Like, pretty good, right?" So he always loved to do mostly pasta. And this now he lives like a keto lifestyle and he does intermittent fasting. So we don't get the pasta as much, but he'll still break every once in a while when the kids ask for it. But yeah, that was his thing. And I cooked super basic stuff that I learned from watching my mom. So like expert at French toast.
Right.
My friends laugh now. They're like, seriously, Misty, you're doing this? I remember spending the night at your house and we go to the pantry and you're like, okay, we're going to do Pop Tarts or Velveeta cheese and shells. What is it, guys? And I'm like, I can't believe it. That's so embarrassing that they remember that about me because now I've launched into a whole different creative side.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you were just bitten by the bug for sure. Did your
Yeah.
it's so funny, very similar. My husband, when we started dating, he was the cook. I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, and I come from a
Yeah.
family, I'm from the South. We cook. I mean,
Yeah.
we cook everything, all the meals from scratch. And I didn't really
Yeah.
get into it. And then all of a sudden one day I did get into it and it's just like full force. And we're the same way, a little keto as well these days. Does your husband do like a Sunday gravy, Sunday sauce?
Yeah. He's
Okay.
really good at
Mm,
it.
I bet.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind seeing
They
that
love it.
recipe online. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, I plan on in the future, collaborating a little bit with the guy.
Okay.
I'll do some work with him
If he's lucky. If he's
if
lucky,
he's lucky.
we'll collab. So
Bring him in.
so he's really the cook, and but now you have kind of launched this, not kind of, you've launched really this lifestyle of you on the grill and with the smoker. Where was that aha moment? Did you have one?
I think I did. And then the point that led me into all of this to begin with was to get his social media going. I wanted to help him get that started. And when I started looking at hashtags like meat or barbecue, I was actually, fascinated by all of these people making recipes. And it kind of looked easy. And I thought, wow, that's wild. Probably about a year before that, I got into baking cookies with my daughter, and we ended up making cookies so nice that the school was asking for hundreds of them. And I thought, oh wow, once you get going, you can really do something well.
Yeah.
So I tried it, and I think my aha moment for taking it more seriously and not just show and tell for fun, and also doing weird selfies in between, was, you know, I loved the competition. I'm a driver of sales, right? I'm a person that wants to win, and naturally, so they had a competition. I think it was for Traeger Game Day, and then every weekend they would do some competition, and they put out a recipe, and then the whole world would make that recipe and use a hashtag to see if you could win something.
Hmm.
And it wasn't even about the prize. Like I just wanted to make the best looking something,
For
or
sure.
whatever the recipe was. I wanted to put my twist on it. So I was like, hey, a girl can play in this arena. I want to participate. So I won one of the weeks, but it was just that I think that made me realize that I can do it. It's not that hard. And I got a lot of attention during that time. Like, whoa, that's great. You're good at this. I had people coming out of the woodwork asking me for advice, and I was so new at it, I couldn't believe anyone was asking. So that's when I realized that I might be able to do something more here.
Well, that's what fuels it, right? When you start hearing from other people like, hey, I really love seeing you cook, or hey, I really
Yeah.
love seeing what you're doing, or maybe asking the question. I know one of the biggest things for me was someone said, I was watching your Instagram video in the grocery store buying all the ingredients that you were using because I wanted to make this soup and grilled cheese. And I was just like, are you kidding me?
That's amazing walking around with you on the screen. That's huge. Like,
Awkward.
all right, I'm going to go to this aisle. I love that. That's a
Totally.
compliment.
Yeah, huge compliment, but it fuels you, right? So you're like,
Yeah.
wow. And that's just one person. So imagine the
Yeah.
people who aren't saying anything to you.
Yep. I totally understand that. And there's been so many moments like that.
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever had anyone say they took me around on the video, but I like that one. But I've had so many people ask for help, and people that I meet every once in a while, someone comes by the meat shop and I'm there, and they'll be like, "Oh, are you Misty, Seattle Butcher's wife?" And they like hug me and stuff. And I'm like, "I'm not a celebrity. I'm just the lady that's cooking. This is so wild. I appreciate it." And then I also met this lady. She's like, "Yeah, my best friend. She makes your cobbler recipe all the time now." And I'm like, "Really?" And then she got her on the phone and she's like, "Listen." And she's like, "I love your recipes." And I'm like, "Whoa, that is sweet." You forget how far it can reach.
Okay, so you're really starting to get into grilling and smoking, correct? But doing both. And
Yeah.
as you're getting into it, I'm sure you're probably finding out that it's kind of a man's world, right? There's not a lot of female grillers and smokers out there.
Yeah. It's very true. And it really depends on, there's so many aspects of grilling and smoking. There's like a competitive barbecue community.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been participating, not competing, but participating by going to events, engaging with the teams, learning. I just got certified to be a judge, so I will participate that way. I can't dedicate the time and energy. And I just shared with you earlier, I'm pretty competitive, so I'd probably give my whole life to it if I start on the train. So I'm not doing that. But it's interesting to see that there are ladies coming out of the woodwork. I got to see some women stepping up and receiving awards, and I see them working hard, the same blood, sweat, and tears, staying up all night long with their brisket, making it perfect for turn-ins. Like I've seen that work. And then as far as social media goes, I'm seeing more and more women participating, but it seems like there are many different ways that they show up. There's not
Mm-hmm.
really consistent. Everybody has their own thing, so it's fun to see what people are bringing to the table. I really encourage women. I really wish that I had more women followers. That's one thing I'd love to be able to figure out how to get more ladies on board. I think I'm at 79% men,
Wow.
middle-aged men. Wow. Yeah, and the rest are women. So every year there's like maybe 1% more women. I'm thinking I need to branch out and figure out how to attract more women to the sport would be
Well,
the goal.
well, it's interesting because I found out about you from Nicole Stover, who
Yes,
is what is it, Beach Girl
Beach
Grills
Girl Grills.
on Instagram, and everything she does for the most part is from the grill.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
she basically said, "Hey, I was like, hey, I need a female griller." She said, "I have the perfect person for you," and told me to reach out to you. But it's true. There's not a lot of you guys out there in this world,
Yeah.
but
We're,
let's make it happen.
yeah. I mean, there's people that are working with brands. When I first started, I remember looking at Diva Q from Traeger, Girls Can Grill, Christy Vanover. She's now doing a lot of competitive stuff. She's an amazing person. We become friends. I got to meet her. Jess Pryles does it in a different way, from hardcore carnivore. She's also a meat scientist, and she's got her own light out there. So there are a few key women, I think, from a social media standpoint that are showing up and participating, and it's awesome to see more. I'm going to leave on Friday, and I'm going to go with a group of barbecue women that are content creators, 9 others, and we are going to fly to Austin, and we are going to go out to Snow's Barbecue and meet the famous Tootsie. So I don't know if you know Tootsie,
I do know
but
Tootsie. Yes.
okay. So we are just, it's so cool to meet in person, number one. And then number two, to go see this iconic woman who's been smoking nonstop, who has just been somebody I think that all of us sort of look up to from a work ethic and passion for barbecue standpoint.
For a long time, she's been doing that.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's
So I'm
amazing.
excited. It's going to be a great weekend.
Do you think women are just intimidated?
Probably. I know I was. I mean, I remember I'm still looking right now, kitty corner off of the deck, and there is a grill out there that has been there for, let's see, how long have I been doing this? 3.5 years. It's gone at least 3.5 years, probably more, untouched. But that was the only good grill that we had. That was my husband's. He took like a year to figure out which one he wanted. It was the perfect grill, the Blaze grill. And I think I turned it on twice and I was scared because it like popped and made a sound. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And I remember distinctly, I won't forget this moment because that's when I realized, like, I can't believe I was afraid. I didn't even realize I was afraid. But we have seafair parties. If you know about Seattle, then there's a big festival we have called Seafair with the Blue Angels and the
Hmm.
hydroplanes. It's kind of a big thing in my neighborhood. But a ton of people come over. So on the deck, there's a ton of hungry guys. And my husband likes slate because I live right next door to his brother and parents. We're all three houses in a row. So he was off probably at one of the other houses. And someone's like, hey, can we get the grill going? When are some more burgers coming? I'm like, well, Angela will be back later. I was like, now to think about that today, I'm embarrassed. I should have just, fired it up and
Yeah.
taken the whole. But I think that's where it stems from, like afraid of number one, potentially pop, snap, burning yourself on the grill, not knowing exactly how to handle it. And then number two, It's probably just like, am I going to be able to make sure it's a quality product? How do I know if it's done? That's kind of what I hear a lot. How do I know if it's done?
Yeah.
The 4 weeks, So I think it's just, it's a matter of building confidence through practice and, some very simple things, and women will be able to do it and feel good about it.
I would say probably I'm not a griller, I'm not a smoker, but it sounds like just do it, right? Just do that
Yeah.
first. Just do that
Yeah.
first brisket. Just try it. Go for it.
Yes. I went to a shop class, a Traeger shop class. The first year I started doing this, Angela and I went out and we got to listen to Chad Ward, who's like the vice president of Traeger marketing. He did a presentation. He shared a lot of tips. And at the end of it, I remember him saying, you know, you basically just have to get out and do it and do it and do it again. That's how you learn. And I didn't like that answer. I wanted specifics. I wanted the formula, and he gave the overall, but basically, and that is so true. You get better with time, every single time, writing down what you did and trying to make it better. So it's true.
You kind of already answered this, but what about it stuck for you? Like, because it sounded like it was just this snowball. Like you started and then you got feedback and then you got more feedback and then you got, followers started happening. Was that it?
Um, yeah, I think so. I think it's also that confidence level. So you start off, and I remember like I'd make something. I thought it was great. And I remember bringing a plate around to everyone, living right next door to my husband, his wife and kids, and then parents. That's a lot of people on one block. So I would make something like a tri-tip steak. I would take pictures of it because reels weren't a thing when it first started. And I thought, wow, this looks beautiful. It tastes so good. I wonder if I did it right. So I used to really cart the plates around and make everyone taste what I did. How could it be better, and get feedback. And I think after you get over the hurdle of understanding the basics of time and temperature on, especially meat products, you just have this confidence. So I felt confident enough to keep doing what I was doing to get consistency, but also to try new things. I like to try new things all the time. And in social media, there's all kinds of crazy trends. Some of them are just silly, some of them are fun and worth trying, but I think I also want to play the game and participate when those things happen.
For sure. Do you have a favorite recipe? Do you have a favorite cut?
Everyone always asks me that. I wish I could say my favorite cuts of meat, and just for simply eating myself, would be a ribeye steak, just a really
Mm.
great ribeye steak. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tomahawk, even though those are fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the texture, and I like a ribeye steak. I love making tri-tips and picanha. That's what I have in the fridge now, and I'm thinking about how I can do something fun with those. So beef is probably the first go-to.
Yeah.
Um, for smoking, it's just, pork and then briskets are my favorite.
Talking with, I've interviewed lots of grillers and smokers, and the
Yeah,
number one, I think, advice for them is you have to start with a high quality meat product if you want
yeah,
it to be good.
it's true. It's true. I just, for the second time, tried a hot and fast brisket. So, usually smoke them low and slow and make it perfect that way. Well, I was thinking, like, I'd love to be able to perfect this if it actually works. And the first time I did a hot and fast brisket, it was 6 hours, and it was okay. It was actually good, but okay as far as my visual standards are higher. So I was like, the crust didn't look as beautiful to
Mm-hmm.
display. Some of them, fat didn't render. And my friends ate it up and loved it. But I thought, I got to do this again. So I just did it again. And I think it was because I had a really good brisket, high quality one. I could tell through the marbling, and it was a prime brisket. Not everyone can grab those. But man, it turned out nice in just 6 hours. So I'm on to something. I'm going to keep working on it. But you're right. The quality of the meat matters. And it's sad because I know not everyone can access all of those
Yeah.
fancy cuts. But I think now I'm like, man, well, how much more is that? And what could I eliminate to be able to pay for that if I was younger and, didn't have the money like back in the day? I might have skipped out a couple coffees and I still could have afforded that steak. So,
Well, you're even seeing people smoke all sorts of things in their
yes,
smoker these days. It's
yes.
not just meat.
Oh, no. I do all kinds of things that are not meat. I like to do frittatas. I like to do, anything, pies. What did I just do? I just did another berry crumble. I like a little kiss of smoke onto most of my chocolate chip cookies. I don't know. My kids won't buy it. I've done it many times. They look great, but they're like, I don't like the smoke on the chocolate, Mom. I'm like, all right.
That's fun.
So, yeah, almost anything you can do, on your stove, you could probably do in a smoker, depending
Really?
upon what you have. Like
Yeah.
those pellet grills, especially, they're really easy to use for that.
Okay, so speaking of smoking anything, let's talk turkey. There's
Mhm.
a little holiday coming up. Do you smoke your turkey for Thanksgiving?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay.
I love smoking the turkey. Hmm.
So, let's start first with what is it about smoking the turkey just really separates it from putting it in a conventional oven?
Well, in my experience, I've had nothing but really good luck smoking the turkey because I don't do it super low. I do a little higher temperature, probably 350 is a good spot for that. So it's just enough to crisp up the skin, but still keep it moist inside. So I brine them usually. Last year I did one that I didn't brine and it was still good because it was a high quality turkey.
Hmm.
But I think it's that crispy, getting that outside crispy, but the inside tender and juicy. It's so hard to nail that. But the smoker I found are the best results. Last year I did a whole turkey. I usually spatchcock them, so I'm sure you're familiar with that. But
Yep.
what that does is makes it nice and even. So the temperature, you can't miss. You're not going to have raw spots or anything weird like you would potentially with an oven bird. And if you're not paying attention to the temperature in those sweet spots by the bones.
For sure.
So
Turkeys are hard. I mean, it's a big old piece of meat, right? With different
yeah,
you have different kinds of meat all in this one bird. And it
yeah.
is. And I love the crispy skin, but then yeah, you have to watch the temperature and all of those things.
Yeah.
What size bird are you smoking usually?
I think last year, I mean, I had two, actually cooked four birds last year
Whew.
because I was doing it for practice
Mhm.
and training, and I did one like for another company. So, gosh, I don't know. I think they're anywhere from like 16. I think I did 16 pounds is a sweet spot. My birds were not small, but for me, I also did one that was whole that I didn't spatchcock, and I did it in a Kamado grill and it turned out amazing. Now I did glaze the outside a little bit, but man, I was just like, okay, I'm not going to talk bad about the non-spatchcock birds because they can still come out nice, and I
Okay.
had it over like a bunch of, vegetables. It turned out awesome. So
Let's talk about the brine. Brines typically really work for whether you do like fried chicken or even if you're going to
yeah,
roast the turkey in the oven. It's a mixture of usually like salt and sugar and herbs, right?
yep, that's it. Salt, sugar, and herbs. Last year I did one with some pickle juice and it was fantastic.
Mm,
And then that's what I do for a lot of those, as long as it's not for too long. I didn't do it overnight. But I added pickle juice to one, which was great. But yeah, all it does is, keep the moisture inside, so when you're ready to smoke, I don't rinse mine off. I usually towel mine off.
okay.
And then I season and smoke it.
Interesting. And then spatchcocking for a lot of people, it's really just removing the backbone of the bird. So
Mhm.
it kind of lays
Flat.
flat, but
Yeah.
it gives everybody it gives all the cuts of the turkey kind of on the same playing field, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It really gives them a chance to get all of the smoke around them. That's what I really like is because, if you're smoking and you smoke the whole bird, the smoke is not getting inside of the bird. It's just getting on the outside, right? But when you open it up and you lay it flat, you got the smoke coming all around the actual meat. And I think that's probably what makes a difference in flavor.
Okay. Have you ever grilled a turkey?
No, I haven't grilled a turkey direct,
Okay.
other than like the Kamado style. Now the Kamado style, I just had it in a let's see, it was a Finex pan, so I had it in cast iron, and I had it over fire onto. I don't know if you have it in Kamado grills, but
Mm-mm.
yeah, so it looks like a big green egg.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the same company, but it's a grill versus necessary. You can grill and smoke on it. You can do whatever you want. But I raised the temperature to at least 350 when I did that whole bird, and it came out really nice. It's on the Instagram. I used some Meat Church barbecue rub. It gave a beautiful color and finished really nicely. And I was surprised. It wasn't until the very end that I had to put a little bit of foil onto part of the legs to make sure they didn't burn. Other than that, it did a really good job. So,
Okay.
and there was still some smoke flavor from that grill.
Interesting.
So it was like charcoal. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about it this year. I really am. I'm thinking about grilling the turkey just for shits and giggles. Seriously.
On what kind of grill?
A gas grill.
Okay. Well, I'd probably treat that like an oven, kind of, and just, I don't know what your gas grill's like, but mine has three different spots where you can really regulate the temperature and, turn some down and turn some up.
Right.
And I mean, you could probably get it to work just fine. You might even be able to fit a little box for those wood chips to be able to give it that wonderful smoky flavor in there. I don't know if you do that on your gas grill, but those are great.
Okay.
Um, my friends, I think it's the name of the company is Smoke Your Bourbon. They have bourbon chips that actually come from bourbon barrels that are
Yes.
awesome. They have chunks and chips, and now they have a new dust. Today I'm going to make a cocktail and use the bourbon dust, but I'm like, that is so cool. But nobody will be, be able to, meet your turkey if you do that.
Yeah, right? Are you going to
You'll be
put this
famous.
cocktail on social media?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to. I'm
Okay.
really excited.
I love good bourbon, and I love a good, and kind of the smoke in the cocktails is
Yeah,
a trend recently
it's a
that I've
thing.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I thought about one of the fun events I'd like to do would be like a Wagyu and whiskey, and then I could have a bunch of ladies out and we could smoke and
Uh-huh.
reverse sear from Wagyu steaks and then have whiskey. Don't you think that would be an event that people would want to sign up for?
Yes, I will sign up for that. I will sign up for
That'd be
that.
fun.
That would be
You just have to
amazing.
find the right. I have some distilleries in mind I'm thinking about partnering with, but I just really want one of those nights. Not just one of them. Like, I think that would be a really fun regular event, a ladies' night that could be a really cool special thing.
Does Mondo and Sons get good Wagyu beef? Like, can you get it around the Seattle
Yeah.
area? Okay.
Yes, yes. I mean, customers can always come by and pick it up. They're really built for wholesale. They're
Mm.
not quite ready with the retail. They're building the website now and putting in products, and they need me to come down and help out with some of the work on that. I've been too busy smoking meat, so I do have to help them out. But I see it in the future. Right now, anyone can stop by. We have a ton of friends, or even people that have just found out about them through Google or through
Mhm.
social media that just swing by and pick up their Wagyu steaks. So they have American Wagyu, they have Australian Wagyu, they have, Japanese, they have it all. And they can always special order things too. So that's nice.
And for those who don't know, it's just really a different way in raising the cattle, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Totally different diet and treatment. So the insides of the Wagyu beef are just filled with flavor.
So good. So good. Yeah, sign me up for the Wagyu and whiskey night.
Okay.
I don't know what I can do besides maybe just participate, but I'm willing to help organize. I'm willing to
All
help
right.
do some, I'll shake drinks, whatever.
Sweet.
I'll be there. I'll be there. So yeah, so you're smoking your turkeys this year for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I usually do at least one for our house, one for their house, like at least three for our family block. And then I like to do some for, my mom, and so I should probably make a list of people and get as many turkeys on the grill at one time because you might as well use the space.
Absolutely. And then you brine all of them and you spatchcock all of them, or will you kind of mix and match?
I think I'm going to spatchcock them again. I mean, if I do a mix and match, it'll be a one off. I'll do it on a different day before Thanksgiving, just because I like to test and,
Yeah.
make sure that if I'm giving any feedback or sharing any advice, that it's from fresh experience, not from last year. So I'll probably do some other things. I'll probably go over open fire too, just to see if I could do that.
Fun. That would be fun. That would be fun to see. I know one piece of advice Meathead gave that's really smart actually is if you've never cooked a turkey, don't cook
Yeah,
your first turkey on Thanksgiving.
that's right. That's right. Practice makes perfect
Yeah.
because you learn.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
was so lucky. The first one I ever made on the Traeger was so good. So I was really lucky. I haven't had a bad turkey yet. I think if you can follow, some basic instructions, smoking is like that's an easy way to do it. You can't mess it up. You can overcook it, but really the biggest mistake I think anyone can make with a turkey is not paying attention to the temperature. You got to probe it all over the place and make sure that there's nowhere that's going too far and
Okay.
nowhere that's, not being handled.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do
Nobody
you
wants that.
and I guess as a griller and a smoker, digital thermometer is a must.
Yes, absolutely. And I have, especially when it's turkey time, if I'm doing something very important, or if I'm going to do a brisket that I know is worth a lot of money, even though I got the hookup from the butcher, I don't want to make mistakes. So I have, I sometimes almost always use the probes that are in the grill that I have.
Mhm.
And that's like maybe 80% of the time. But I also have ThermoWorks, they've got the little quick read. I always do that for all those weird spots that I have to check just in case. And I also have a meter. So you know about those meter probes, they're wireless, so you
Yeah.
can work that whole system through your phone. And especially for new people at smoking, that is a great system. I have never had it fail me. The only part is you got to keep them charged. So you have to have it charged and ready to go. But other than that, they're wonderful. So even on rotisseries where you can't have the wires going, you put that probe in there and it can still go as long as the fire isn't direct on it.
For
So
sure.
yeah, yeah, temperature is everything. I think ThermoWorks is probably. I also have a Smoke 4 that has 4 probes, so I might look like a little scientist poking, all over the place, and I can read that, at least from my bedroom and see how things are going. So for overnight smokes, I don't know what I do without it. I wouldn't want to wake up every 20 minutes, and I don't want to really babysit the fire. I'll do that later when I have an offset smoker someday when I grow up and do that. But for now, if I'm taking the easy road, I'm just going to check the temperature and then go back to, cooking or watching my show or visiting with my family,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it sounds like temperature is everything when you're grilling and
Yeah,
smoking, especially big cuts of meat. It's all about
yeah,
temperature.
it really is. And, paying attention to the hot spots in the grill, no matter what kind of grill you have, there's some little areas that run a little bit hotter than others. So rotating sometimes. I know I just had that with that hot and fast brisket. I was like checking the temperature and I kept moving it around strategically because I didn't want the flat to get burned and I didn't want, it's like finding the balance and watching closely to see where the heat's coming from. And you might have to rotate your dish.
No, for sure. Whether it's cooking or baking, and I'm not a baker whatsoever, you have to pay attention to your food. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
true story. Unless
Set it
it's
and forget it. That's for crock pots.
yeah, I was gonna say unless it's like the Sunday sauce in the crock pot, then you
That's
can
right.
kind of forget about it for a while.
That's right.
Do you smoke anything else on Thanksgiving, or is it really just turkey? Any sort of other protein?
Oh, good question. We always have prime rib. We always have some beef option because turkey is, to be honest, like we probably have turkey just around Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It's not our favorite meat. And everyone wants, there's some kids, in the family, they're like, no, I don't like turkey. They don't do it just because it's a holiday. So we always have, if it's not, prime rib, then we've got some other steaks that we're doing for just variety. We're talking about a meat family.
yeah,
So I also sometimes, I think last year I did a ham, even though that's an Easter thing, I
yeah.
threw in a ham just because some of the kids like ham and they like the ham sandwiches afterwards. So it's whatever we're in the mood for, whatever we have access to. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes I'm like, well, I have these 3 things. That's what's going on the menu
Right,
for Thanksgiving.
right.
So,
Do you have any sort of special thing you do with turkey leftovers?
oh man, that's the fun part.
Yeah, I think so
So
too.
I did casseroles. My gosh, I've done so many things. Roll ups. Um, gosh, what did I do last year? There was like little muffins. Any way that I can make sandwiches out of
Hmm.
cranberries and
Yeah,
turkey. Gosh, I can't think of the ones right off the top of my head that I did,
my
but I did so many afterwards. Everyone wanted the recipes for those.
for sure.
Um,
My
but yeah,
go-to is it's really the only reason I roast a turkey is so I can do this like turkey shepherd's pie the next day.
ooh, I
Little
haven't done the shepherd pie. Yeah,
little
that's good with the mashed
individual
potato.
ones. Yeah, cuz you have leftover
Ooh,
mashed potatoes, right?
mm-hmm,
Usually.
yeah,
And then you can make this and if you have leftover gravy, you can put the gravy in there too. Oh,
yeah,
they're to die for.
so
And
good.
then one year I made turkey enchiladas with like a green chili sauce and they were incredible.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mostly kept like the Thanksgiving flavors together. So I did like a casserole. I did like the stuffed croissant dough and made little, pouches of it together.
Yum.
Um, yeah, little muffin cups that were filled with all of the good stuff. I don't know. The kids don't love turkey, so it's hard. I make these things, and a lot of the turkey leftovers end up going to my in-laws because they love and I'm like looking at the steak in my fridge, man. That's what I'm going to do tonight,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, for
but I
sure.
also don't want to waste. So, it really depends. What I really want to do is some empanadas. I learned how to do some empanadas from my friend Al, who is Argentinian and Texan. And he came over and was showing us some of his empanadas and how to put them together. And I was like, oh, yeah, I need to find more leftover barbecue meats to put in those because they are tasty.
Oh, I love a good empanada. And that's just like a classic kind of pastry dough for that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he deep fries them or bakes them. But, you know, I was really like, I don't spend enough time. I think I tried making empanadas years ago and it was good, but I thought that's a lot of work. But now that I have all this leftover barbecue meat, like what a great way to use it,
Yes,
and I
Misty.
have a vacuum sealer, so I have a bunch of leftover good smoked meats.
Okay. Well, thank you for the turkey tips.
Sure.
Because I do feel like, especially whether you're in the kitchen all the time, we'll take all the help we can get, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't ever think I'm such an expert at anything. I will
that's
take
right.
all of the advice. We're going to wrap up a little bit. But
Okay.
again, thank you so much for talking turkey with me because it's coming up, everybody. Let's get to the final three. Best advice you've ever been given.
Um, I'd probably go back to that original comment I made earlier about continue, just never give up, continue to try new things, continue to try new methods, and don't ever get frustrated. Just keep trying. And the more effort you give and the more energy you give, the better you get.
Yeah. You get out what you put in, right?
That's right. So what you put into it is what you get out of it. That's
Yeah.
what I say all the time.
Aw, I love that. What's your happy place?
Well, my happy place is probably on a nice sunny Seattle day out on the deck with a cocktail in my hand
Mm-hmm.
and the smell of smoke in my hair and knowing that I'm going to be able to prepare a nice meal for the family.
Mm,
That's a happy place out there. And shutting the door so there's no noise, no chihuahua barking or kids asking me for help.
love that. Do you have a lot of sunny days in Seattle?
It gets more and more every year. It's
Mm,
amazing. Like we just now last week got our first rain. It's felt like summer up until, and it never is like this. October is usually,
yeah.
moody and rainy and windy. No, it's just now starting to get a little rain. So
Yeah. I'm
it's
the
getting better every year.
we just got rain and cold weather probably like a week ago, and I am a cold weather girl. I love it. Can't I'm just so excited
That's
for
right.
fall. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Hoodies, boots, cozy times.
yep, exactly. And then final three, in all things food and drink, what do you crave?
Hmm. That's so hard.
Like what always sounds good to you?
What always sounds good to me is a steak, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I am a sucker for anything with berries. I love berries. I would just eat berries, fresh berries, but I love anything dessert with berries. I'll usually say yes, even if I'm full, because it sounds good. And I do love coffee. I'm from Seattle. Like I have to operate that way. So I really love coffee, good quality coffee.
Brilliant. What's your go-to cocktail these days?
Ooh, that's a good one. I usually just have whiskey neat, to be honest.
Okay.
That's what I'm drinking if I'm just hanging out with the guys by the grill. But I like a lemon drop. I like mojitos. I love margaritas. I love palomas. Anything kind of fun. It just
Yeah.
depends on the mood. If I'm barbecuing though and the smoke, it just goes so well, like you said, with the bourbon.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think we just became best friends. So,
Yeah.
Misty, thank you so much again for the helpful tips. Thanks for sharing your story with me. Give your hubby a high five. Tell him to keep plugging away. And thanks for bringing the meat into your life
I will. I love that.
because all of your fans, we're reaping the benefits. And again,
All
if
right.
anybody, if my listeners want to follow you on social media, Seattle Butcher's Wife is where to find
Okay.
you on Instagram. And that's your TikTok handle as well.
Seattle Butcher's Wife, MB, my two initials at the end. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Okay. Well, Misty Banchero, thank you again for your time today. And so excited to see. I hope you're going to post some things from Thanksgiving because I want to see them.
Absolutely. I will definitely do.
You've been listening to Hungry for More, an Epicurean's Dilemma with me, Trish Close. You can watch this podcast and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Just search Hungry for More, an Epicurean's Dilemma. You can also listen and subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts.